Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dylan, I'm your host. And today, guys, we're going to be talking about different markets and coming with proof. Here recently, I've had to put some budgets together for clients. One in particular was a public client. And in putting budgets together, it's really like come with proof. Hey, I have a true cost for equipment. I feel really good about that. The rest of this is my best guess, right? My best estimate of what it's going to take to get this particular project completed. A lot of the times, these are hard to come by. I will say these days, this is the perfect job for AI, of them going and crawling all public sector data for what it takes to put in conduit, what it takes to, how much is conduit, right? What's a 10-foot stick of 1-inch EMT cost, and give me the cost for 1,000 feet of 1-inch EMT, right? Now it can do that. As not a contractor, not have an estimating software, I can now ask like Grok for very specific. I would not want to do this for a full project or anything, but for, I know, a very specific project, I have a few very core questions for it. And now I can start to put budgets together, right? This is not a huge project. This is a $250,000 project, not millions of dollars for a project. What this ultimately goes down to is like coming with proof to the client. Yes, this is what I put together. This is me being transparent around it. And this is also me saying that this is an estimate and I don't do this for a living. And I don't have labor. We're an engineering firm. Like, this is our best guess at what this is going to cost to do. So the other reason I bring this up and like coming with proof and coming to the table with proof of what's happening, what's going on, is I was talking to another engineer. Since I'm recruiting, we are hiring, is that he had a client that was talking to him that, hey, we can't get gear or breakers they couldn't get multi-case breakers for like 52 weeks. And I was like, that's bullshit. I know, because I just quoted whole gear packages and all the breakers and panels we could get in 36 weeks. Like, I've just gone through this exercise 6 different times in the last 2 weeks in 3 different locations. Pretty sure it's 36 weeks for any given breaker size. I don't know what your client is talking about, but like, I have the proof because I'm working directly with manufacturers, with not 2 manufacturers, but with manufacturers, reps, gear agencies, suppliers, distribution, contractors that are actively quoting and pricing and going through this exercise, pricing and getting gear and timelines and everything else. We're getting all of that information and we're doing it in a pretty good manner, right? Like, we have real data behind these things. And so when I say come with proof, right? Like, my other engineer buddy, because he works in a traditional MEP firm, doesn't have any of that data. They're not working with manufacturers, reps, distribution, contractors. They're not actively quoting or pricing gear, what it costs. They're not doing any of that, right? They're doing the traditional design, bid, build. And that leads itself to its own, again, there's definitely a place for that. But when you're actively working with contractors to do these projects and to get things out, you're able to do things so much, or you have real data to work with, right? And you're not just guessing around it. When you don't have data, your decision-making ability is not as good. And so a lot of engineers are stuck in a place where, because they have no data, they don't understand what things cost. Their fee structure is probably off as well. They're not getting paid as much, because for engineering, you're usually based on a percentage of construction. And when you don't understand what the building itself costs, then you have problems pricing your services. So as a whole, you want to make sure that you're able to price yourself accordingly, that you're able to put lead times and true pricing to a project so the owner understands what they're paying for. And then you're able to come up with solutions on the other side of it to help the owner and clients out. So at the end of the day, like, a lot of this is coming with proof, coming with solutions, and then understanding these solutions as you move through different markets, right? What the data center market needs and lead times and how crucial it is to those guys and what lead times are, how they go about things, what they're willing to pay for, how much money they have. Completely different than your apartment complex down the street. Like that is night and day of price sensitivity, right? Like data centers are pay whatever for the most part. And then your apartment complex developers, like, I don't want to pay for nothing. Why do we have to have wood in here? I don't get it, Oh, we need a roof? Why? I'm not living in it. It'll be just fine. So those are two very different extremes of like cheap to whatever it takes to get it done, right? Very expensive building, except it's a warehouse with a bunch of MEP in it, right? It's a bunch of cooling, it's a bunch of computers, and you're basically building a bunker with generators and tons of cooling equipment. And that's it, right? That's all that sits in a data center. They're not pretty, they're not exciting, and they've got some office space in them. That's it. That's all there is to them. And then over here, you've got apartments, and there's a lot of space in between, right? Offices, and the same thing can be said for offices. You've got high-end offices, you've got low-end offices, you've got everything in between. So when we start to have a lot of these conversations around what could be done, who's going where, and what markets you're in, understand that each market has its own ebbs and flows, right? As power generation gets brought online, more data centers can be brought online, which means you're going to have more of a boom in that area. With bigger growth and higher population density, you're going to have bigger demand for schools, right, being built. And then the more schools you build, the more fire stations, police stations, the more retail shopping centers you're going to build. When population grows in a given area and schools grow, now you're going to need ancillary services around it. You're going to need bus maintenance. You're going to need more gas stations. You're going to have more housing that's going to pop up, right, in single family home development. You're going to have more apartments that are going to go in because the population's expanding. You're then going to have more restaurants and retail because people want things to do. They want to eat out. You've got like everything else grows around that. Basically, one of the guests that I had on today that you guys have probably listened to, Ozzy, when he was on and talking about the markets and how they expanded or where they choose to go after, is you have your growing geographic markets, right? Like the Southeast is massive growth right now. And with that, you have all those things that come up with it. And then one of his interesting pieces too is schools grow, or population center grows. You're going to have more schools, more government, right? You're going to need more courthouses because more people just in a given area means that more people get into more trouble, which means you have more court cases, or more people want to sue each other because we are a litigious society. So more people sue each other, which means you have more courts, which means more people go to jail. So you need to build more jails because you got more people breaking the law. And all the way down the line it goes when you have a growth of population. That's just part of it that comes along with a population growth. Some of those things we don't like to think about. Others are, hospitals, right? Schools, hospitals, offices, all those kind of grow in sync with each other in their own phasing. When you bring everybody in, the offices are probably going to grow first. Then the population center gets to a point where then the hospital can expand. And then because the population got enough, and then maybe it was young enough people, now they have enough kids. So now your childhood or your children demographic is such that maybe you need to build an elementary school or a high school, or you start building elementaries so that in, 5 years, 8 years, you build the high school, right? Like obviously the kids are going to grow up. And so you got to go through the phases with them, and you follow them through that, and construction follows right along. But I say all this to say, when you choose a market and you have all the other data, right, that we talk about in pricing and winning projects, then you can choose geographies and go after a specific market, or you can choose a specific vertical, right? Like we're going to go after data centers, and I don't care where a data center goes. Or we're going to say that we do any given type of commercial project, right? School or offices, hospitals, retail, whatever. Or you choose a given vertical of, hey, we're going to do healthcare, but we're only going to do healthcare in Texas. Or we're going to do healthcare, we're only going to do it in California or Florida or wherever. You could choose a given market vertical, we're only going to do schools, but we're maybe going to do schools everywhere, or we're going to do anything and everything, but we're only going to do it in Texas. Like those are all different choices that a firm has to make around how big they want to be, what markets they want to be in, what projects they want to go after, what they want to specialize in. And for vertical design services, we specialize in design build, we specialize in partnering with contractors. And for us, we don't care of project size. We care about partnering with contractors. So contractor, big or small, project from A to Z, we're here to be a partner with you and help you through the entire process. That's what we're here to do. So that's our go-to-market, and being really engineering built for electrical contractors. That's it. That's what we do. We're engineering built for electrical contractors. So we go basically after all markets, but we go after partners, and we do pick geographies around that. And that's how we go to market. Now with Kowabunga Studios, it's software. We're frankly, a world global firm. Whether you're here in the States or abroad, you put receptacles, lights, switches into a building and software, we help you, right? We're agnostic as to country or sect or whatever. Like, we help you with electrical design and whatever market you're doing that in. Now we are better in schools, hospitals, office buildings. Those are our three primary markets that we are excellent at. We're not going to be great in manufacturing. That's very custom when it comes to like the lines and equipment that's going to go into those facilities. From a software standpoint, for Kowabunga Studios, like the manufacturing facilities, they need engineers, right? That's why we have vertical design services to help service that side of it, with engineers and people to build those projects. For software though, offices, hospitals, schools, like those are right up the wheelhouse for Kowabunga Studios to help you guys, help engineering firms automate that process. Makes it really, really simple to do those types. So if you're working on any schools, education projects, K-12, higher ed, offices, any corporate stuff, some retail maybe, and then really hospital work from MOBs to primary care to in-hospital work, that's where we can help to automate all those device placements. So I want to talk about, again, the different markets, and there's growing geographies. Manufacturing is going to be big in the Midwest. Southeast is just going to be a massive growth in all areas. Everybody's moving down there. They can't find enough people to do anything. Texas is booming through like data centers and all that. Even Chevron just announced that they're going to build their own power plant. I think they're going to start at 2.5 gigawatts, which is just insane, off of natural gas from the wells that Chevron owns, which is brilliant. They announced that. And then I think they're going to scale it up to 5 gigawatts, which is like a small nuclear power plant, basically, off of natural gas. And then they're going to do it on their own private grid and basically have a data center counterpart that they're going to marry all that power to and have their own power generation plant that's going to be specific for basically a data center client, which is smart. So you're going to have all these project types all across the country. For construction, I think everything's kind of broken loose. The economy's doing pretty good. Obviously, you're given geographical markets going to vary for you guys on where you're focused, what you're doing. But what we're seeing across the country as a whole, construction is up. People have decided that they're going to move forward with projects. Now, the first half of 2025 was rough for a lot of people, honestly, in getting projects out and then going. But 2026 is going to be really strong here moving forward for construction projects. So, guys, find your market, find your stability, find the things that you want to go after when it comes to construction and design, what you want to specialize in, and go from there. Then with that, come prepared with data. Don't pull numbers out of thin air, right? Have a reasonable estimate for it. For some of this stuff, like use AI. That is what it is built for. Then trying to go find a table or anything else, like use the publicly available information that we have. Use your, again, best estimates to put these budgets and numbers and pricing together for things. And then others, you're just going to have to know somebody. Like lead times, you're not going to be able to pull off the internet. You're going to have to know somebody who has actual lead times from manufacturers. That's the only way that one's going to work. Have good conversations, know people, and you're going to do really well. So, guys, that is this episode of the Construction Corner podcast. Until next time.